Hello guys, and welcome to the next part of my Evelynn cosplay creation. Today is about the lashers. I had so many cosplayers reaching out to me and asking how I made my lashers, and finally I can share the video with you now. If you want to see the whole costume creation process, check out my previous video. So for my lashers I used Kinpatsu Cosplay's patterns. I'll put the link in the description box. I made them 150 centimeters long. It saves some time if you don't have to figure out the pattern yourself from scratch, so I took this opportunity with Kinpatsu's patterns. The first step was cutting out 4 pieces of the lasher patterns from 3mm foam and getting your mom to bring you mint tea. For the sleeves I used the same fabrics as Kinpatsu did, the Yaya oil slick mermaid scale fabric and the black 4-way stretch pleather. I cut them out and sewed them together. There's actually not a lot to tell about it, only that I really love this mermaid scale fabric. Oh, and of course, my fluffy assistant was with me. If you know Kinpatsu's tutorial, you might have noticed already that I don't follow her steps exactly. I wanted to use her tutorial as guidance or inspiration, but it didn't work out for me, and at the end I had to figure out my own construction, but you will see. For the lashers claws, I cut the pieces from a 5mm thick foam. Kinpatsu's pattern indicate where angled edges are needed. You can cut them at an angle already or do it as I did, I dremeled the edges. It takes some time, but I feel more secure that way. Also, don't forget to clean the edges. You can sand them with sanding paper or with the Dremel. It makes a difference! Here you see the first casing for the gem already glued together, and there are some flaws, but we will fix that later. I really spent some time in this dremeling hell. With contact adhesive I glued all the pieces together. With this glue it's important that you let it dry some minutes before pressing the pieces together, and of course apply glue on both sides. I normally use contact adhesive from Ulu in a gel form. The liquid one is transparent, but I make more a mess with it, so since I tried out the gel one, I stick to it. Badoom. Here I'm already cleaning up the glued edges with seam filler. I filled the flaws with it and used the Dremel again to sand away the excess. See the difference? Inspector Mittens checking the gems. For her gems, Kinpatsu used vinyl, which she glued onto the foam. I found something else. I wanted to have those holo reflections in it and remembered I saw in a local crafting store this thick paper which made my perfect gemstone. So I made a pattern and cut it out with a precision knife. To make bending easier and overall make the edges look sharp, I cut just slightly over the surface on the backside. Even without bending, you can already see a nice and clean line. Contact adhesive takes away the color of this paper, so I had to be super careful to put only glue where it really has to be and not having glue on my hand somewhere when I'm pressing it together. Evelynn's lashers actually have the same claws on the inside, but I just couldn't let the inside be like this, so I made a light version of the claws. That would be a little extra weight, but it should be okay. Here I'm gluing the real or the front claw together and again correcting with seam filler all the flaws. The tool I'm using is actually a carving tool. It's the first time I'm making a prop which won't be covered in Warblast, so if I wouldn't work on the flaws they would be visible in the end, especially with this shiny metallic paint. You can seal the foam with a heat gun, which will make the surface super smooth, but be careful because heat also makes the surface shrink a little bit, and cuts or damages or spots which aren't glued together very well might pop up more. Some spots I had to correct again afterwards because of that. The gem with only thick paper would be really fragile, so I glued and taped the foam gem inside of it. More of seam filler and more of sanding. To achieve a perfect paint job, priming is a must. I use a soft makeup brush with synthetic fibers to apply diluted flex bond. You'll have to apply multiple layers and take your time because the smoother and shinier the better the paint job will look like. The next step is spraying plastic primer on it. I don't know if it would be needed, but I prefer doing it. Afterwards I use black spray paint also as a part of the priming process, and after it dried I use metallic chrome spray paint. The steel ball looks so much better on a black base color. Yeah, of course I had to cover up the gemstone with masking tape. Okay, back to the lashers. As I said, my first method didn't work out, but I will show you either way, so you'll know what might cause problems if you do the same. I couldn't find the exact same wire as the one Kinpatsu used in her tutorial, so I hope mine is strong enough to hold the weight. As I always do, I stood in front of the mirror and tried getting the M shape for the harness base, as shown in the tutorial. Cut the wire and start forming. I thought it would be a good idea to tape 2 wires onto the foam and form it afterwards. Spoiler, don't do that. I wasn't able to bend both wires exactly the same and the lashers would turn out wavy. So, next construction, but as you can read already, it failed too. I found a thicker wire, but still not exactly the one I wanted. In the tutorial, Kinpatsu had twisted 2 wires for the frame. So I thought maybe it's easier to just follow that, and since I had a slightly thinner wire, I decided to twist 3 wires together. It would be a thicker spine, but well, I accepted I would have to live with that. Now with much more tape on the lashers inside. Taping the wire spine onto the lashers. Evelynn's lashers have spikes on the outside, and I had the idea of pushing a screw from the inner foam lasher to the outside and build the spike on that screw. I used strips of double-sided carpet tape along the whole lashers to connect both foam pieces. I had to remove the screws and put them in again. I also added these little guys here to make sure the foam wouldn't rip or something. And now pressing the foam pieces together. Adding another one of these thingies on the outside but gluing them on with some contact adhesive. Now pulling the sleeve over the lasher and make a small cut in the pleather where the screw has to come out. You can see the wireframe pushing through the foam. That's what I actually wanted to avoid, but well. So now it's time for the spikes. I used Apoxy Sculpt for the base and built up the spike with foam clay over it. The thought you see is to not ruin the pleather. Of course I had to sand the spikes to even the surface. With the foam clay the spikes will stay soft, so if I bump into something or someone, for example on a con, the spike should not break. Oh, and of course no one gets hurt. For the paint job, it's the same as for the claws, priming with diluted flex bond, black spray paint and chrome over it. With masking tape I marked the area which would need contact adhesive. Press the claws as much as you can and that's how it looks on the inside. That's why I made the light version of the claws, to have a proper finish on the inside too. Like that I wouldn't have to worry on what angle the pictures are taken. Again the masking tape technique and ta-da! It looked so promising and I was really excited, so I cried my eyes out when the lashers just looked like crap. Bending the wire made the lashers extremely wavy and the weight was still too much. I should have filmed it, but I was so depressed I totally forgot about that, but here's a picture. I knew I made it impossible to disassemble this construction without destroying it, so I really had to redo the whole thing. The new idea was using an aluminium rod, and instead of gluing or taping it to the lasher, I would make a channel with 3mm foam to pull the rod through. With carpet tape I glued on the foam piece onto the new lashers, which I cut from a 5mm foam. And this is the first test. There are 2 of the thicker wires going from the harness part through the rod. I made it with my sister's help and it's strong enough to hold the lashers up. So it was time to assemble the sleeves again. I had to rip off the cloth from the sleeve, but this time I glued it on with carpet tape. It's a better choice. The trauma was deep, so I thought if I ever have to disassemble the lashers ever again, I'll do it smarter this time. So I decided to use magnets which would pull the outer and the inner claw together. I marked the spots where the magnets would be and glued them on the claws. Don't mind the inner claw looking so crappy, they got damaged when I had to rip apart the previous construction. Like this, I would be able to strip the sleeve from the foam lashers whenever needed. And here we have the bare frame. The M in the back looks a little special now, but yeah, it had to be for more stability. To keep the frame close to my back, I used the strap which holds with hooks onto Evelynn's bra on the sides. I also sewed on a ring on the bra straps so I could hang the frame on it. I also added those thingies here, which would hold the foam lashers so they wouldn't slip down. Now pull the sleeve over it and secure the foam lashers with the hook. Like this. The rod seemed kinda visible, you will see that in the showcase shot. So I cut out the lasher shape from a thin cardboard to put in the inner side of the lashers. Easy peasy! And here they are, the finished lashers! As I said, still without the cardboard, so you can see actually the wire. I really love how the lashers turned out, and they are definitely an eye-catcher on conventions. I hope this video can be of some help to you, and see you in the next one!